Hi everyone, my name is Vickie Bone and welcome to Cruising with Vickie. Today, I thought I would start out with Halifax. Well, of course I chose Halifax because darn it, that's where I live, is in Nova Scotia. But if you're planning a trip to the Canada-New England itinerary and one of your stops is Halifax, and you're a fan of the Titanic, well, there's a lot to see here in regards to the Titanic. On Sunday, April 14th at 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck a giant iceberg. A few hours later, by 2:20 a.m. the following morning, she was gone. The company that owned the Titanic was the White Star Line, and they were the first to dispatch vessels, Canadian vessels. Four of them came from Halifax, and they were the first ones to arrive on scene. And they were sent to look for bodies in the area of the sinking. A few days later, those ships left. They left from the wharf right in Halifax, and one of them was the steamer. It was a cable steamer called the Mackay Bennett, and she set sail with a minister, an undertaker, and a cargo of ice, coffins, canvas bags. And she arrived 3 days later at the site of the sinking, and she spent 5 days around the site, carrying out the very grim task of recovering the deceased. The Mackay Bennett made it back to Halifax. The majority of the bodies were unloaded at the flagship wharf right there on Halifax waterfront. They had brought horse-drawn hearses to come collect the victims. And then they moved them to these temporary morgues until they knew more of what they were going to have to do with the bodies. Of the 209 bodies that they collected, they were brought back to Halifax. 150 of them were laid to rest in 3 local cemeteries. The remaining 59 bodies were actually claimed by loved ones. So of those 150, if they were non-denominational, they went to Fairview Lawn Cemetery. If they were Catholic, they went to Mount Olivet Cemetery. And if they were Jewish, they went to the Baron de Hirsch Cemetery. Most of the gravestones that were erected in the fall of that year were paid for by the White Star Line. They're a plain granite block, and they identify the number that was given to them when they retrieved the body. And if they were able to identify who the person was, that was put onto the gravestone. I should add that many of the unknown numbered bodies later on had names added to them once they were determined who they were. Some families ended up letting them be buried in Halifax, but the families ended up paying for a much more elaborate one. So you'll see a variety of different gravestones there. There is a very popular gravestone, the one that's marked J. Dawson. Of course, Jack Dawson, who was apparently a fictional character in the Titanic movie, is very popular. People, claim that maybe this is the Jack Dawson, but you can find his stone there as well. But again, we don't know for sure if that's the same Jack Dawson. So if you're wanting to go to the Fairview Lawn Cemetery, there's a few ways. Now, the ship docks down there at the right-hand side. The cemetery is about 20-minute drive away. So if you're on a tour that's going there, you don't need to worry about it. If you're wanting to go there, you're going to have to rent a taxi, take a taxi, or take an Uber or something like that, because it is a bit of a distance away. You can't really walk there, although I have had guests say that they've walked there, but it is quite a distance away, so maybe not the easiest thing to do. One great way to get there is if you take the hop-on, hop-off bus. That one picks you right up at the pier, and then it goes to a whole bunch of different sites. One of the stops is the Fairview Lawn Cemetery, and you can get off. And then what I love about this tour company is that once you get to Fairview Lawn Cemetery, you get off and there is somebody there from the company that will lead you around and give you information all about the site, the Fairview Lawn Cemetery, with regards to the Titanic. But even if you go there on your own, don't worry, you still can get a lot of great information. There's some really good signage, with detailed information, the grave sites and so forth. So it still can be very, very interesting. One other spot I would highly recommend if you want to gain more knowledge about the connection of Halifax to the Titanic is to visit the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic. It's located right on the waterfront in Halifax, and it is home to the largest and the finest collection of Titanic artifacts in the whole world. So definitely head to that. So if you can't get to the Fairview Lawn Cemetery, but you still want to see some information, check that Maritime Museum. It has a really good selection there. To get to the museum, very easy to do on your own. Just walk off the ship, walk all the way down to the end of the boardwalk. I would say maybe a 20-minute walk if you're kind of, dawdling, and you can just pay your entrance fee and go right in and enjoy that. If you have trouble with mobility, it's a short taxi ride right to it. I'll make note too that the hop-on, hop-off bus does stop at the Maritime Museum as well. Well, I hope you learned something today. And hopefully, if you're interested in coming to Halifax, maybe you'll get a chance to visit one of the sites. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but also make sure you subscribe to my channel right here to learn more and get notified of future videos. Thank you, everybody.